Hi, my name is Joel. I have a very unique set of skills. I am a guest ranch strategist, and it sounds like you have a property that you are looking at developing, and that's where I come in. We developed a very unique five-step process to help you transform your guest ranch, to take it from where it is to a really cool place, and where it's profitable and it's part of your legacy that you are creating. And the first two steps is really where we do most of our work. It's in the assessment phase. And in an average situation, we would come in and we would do an assessment on your property. We'd have a look at what the potential of that property is, and we'd probably put together a little bit of a plan, a summary, and then we'd go deep into a strategy. And so this video is about the assessment part. And if you want to see what the 5 steps are, you can go back into our YouTube link and have a look at that. But we will also be developing a series of videos on that. So this one, first step, is really just about the assessment. So stay tuned. So what we do in this step, the assessment phase, is look at the property itself. We look at zoning issues, we look at what you can do, and we focus on the things that you can do on your property. And we look at different experiences that could be offered on that property, what kind of things would potentially work on your property. And it's a very important step. It is the playbook, and it gives you the guidance for what you're going to be doing in the future on the land. We're also going to look at the regional aspects of it. How are your guests going to get to the property? Do you make it easy for them? Is it tricky for them to find it? And how can we streamline that process? And we start thinking about all of those things as we move into the strategy phase. And we just look at practical things, what some of the background of the area is, where's the history on this area, what's the kind of draw to the area in general, and how can we capitalize on that and make that part of the guest ranch experience. The next thing that we do look at is the property itself in terms of the water and the water supply. Very important. One thing that we notice a really high level kind of a point is the water pressure. We want to make sure that you've got sufficient water and water pressure, and that your guests will be able to utilize it. And then we look at some of the other aspects, like what are the buildings are on the property, what kind of development issues are potentially there. We tend to look at problems as that we give you the knowledge to solve problems, if I can put it that way. You don't have to worry about problems that you can't solve, because what we've discovered is that most operators are pretty ingenious, and when a problem arises, it's something that's in the moment. You learn from that and you become a better guest ranch operator after the fact. And so it's not bad to have some problems sometimes that you can resolve yourself. So that's one of the couple of the second things, the second area we would look at. The third point we're going to look into is your market and your niche. What are you known for? It's fun to kind of look at some of the other ranches in the area or some of the other operations in the area and seeing what they're doing and what's successful for them. Gives us a bit of a starting point. It's also nice to figure out what you want to be known for. I know my wife and I, when we looked at the property we were looking at, we really wanted to delve into couples and created some really cool date night experiences for couples. And that was our focus for the entire operation. Now, we did other things as well, but we found a lot of success in the date night kind of experiences. We offered a carriage ride and a 5-course dinner, and that was very well received. So that's something to look at. You can also look at what's available in the area again, what couples or families might want to do, and what can you bring to it. Do you have some horses? Is that going to be part of your operation? How are you going to present it, and who would be buying those kinds of things? Once we find and kind of nail down your niche, if it's luxury or if it's overnight stays or wherever it goes, that from there we can really springboard off of that. And to the fourth point, I think one of the really fun areas is delving into what your passions are, what your training is, what areas you've got a skill. Some of the operators have musical talents, cooking talents, The culinary side, the field to fork experience is really popular right now. If there's indigenous heritage that plays into it, these are all things, these are who you are, these are why you're doing what you're doing, and this is what gets you excited about it. And it's really your chance to share your skills, keeping in mind that you're not the focal point, you're not the experience, you're supporting the experience. I remember one of my staff one time told me I was going to do a clinic for some team building, and she pointed out to me that, you set everything up, but when you do the presentation, you just have to remember that this is their experience, and you'll have to allow that experience to unfold. Now, what you're doing is you're creating the envelope for that experience to occur. And that's where your character and personality comes in. But once the guest is there, it's game on, and they get to enjoy what you brought to it and what you set up for them. So that's a lot of fun. And that's the fourth point. Now to the fifth point, we start to look at the gritty stuff. That's the financials. How is this operation going to be operated? There's a couple different strategies we look at. There's a cash flow first. If you're really kind of cash strapped and you just got to get this thing going by the skin of your teeth, we look at a cash flow kind of a thing. What kind of events can we do that turn over cash quickly? If you're well heeled and you've got some cash on reserves, we look at a profit first model, which really is probably one of the safer ways to do it, to ensure that your operation will be profitable and that you can build that legacy that you're wanting to build and really grow the business aspect while you enjoy the lifestyle. Cash flow operations, they operate a little bit differently. I recommend some events to kind of kick things off and get things going, but there's lots of strategies for that as well. So that's the nitty-gritty part, but it's part of the process. Another part that really you want to look into when we're talking about financials is budget and budget projections. A lot of accountants that I've worked with, they had trouble with that. That wasn't something that was on their radar. They could deal with what had actually happened, but they had a hard time projecting into the future as to what the future cash flows are going to look like. And that is something that's very important. If it's done well, you've got a budget framework to work with, and then you follow that budget, and your staff has budgets, and it just works a lot better. If you're a single operator, it's sometimes harder or it's easier to manage that budget than when you have a big team. So some things to look at, but again, this is part of the assessment strategy that we do, just going in and seeing where we're at and what we have to work with. So just to recap a little bit, what we're looking at is we're going to help you become the problem solver. We're going to make it so that problems that come up are easy for you to resolve. You learn to trust yourself because you've kind of thought through some things, because you know where you're going and where your business is going. And you're really building a legacy. You're building infrastructure that is going to be timeless, and future generations can springboard off of this. Really, your journey is just beginning, and I encourage you to really dig into the preparation stage, the assessment stage that we're at right now. As we roll into strategy, we start to talk about what we're going to do and how we're going to generally do the big picture, and then we'll look into some of the tactics that we're going to use to execute that. So some good stuff coming up in our next video, so I hope you stick around. If you're enjoying some of the content here, you want to make sure you get the rest of the videos. Click that like and subscribe button, as they say. If it's something that you want to pursue, you can go online, fill out one of the forms. We can do a consult with you. There's a $150 fee for a consult, or you can phone me up at 403-877-3456, and we can just have a quick chat about what could happen in your ranch in the future. Cheers.